Hello.
Oh shit.
Spot.
It's okay. I'm not super worried. There's a leveler in it. So when we run in post, everything gets leveled out and it sounds just fine.
It was a shit week.
Yeah.
It was a shit week.
Well, yeah. I had to kind of run my brain back because I'm thinking about like my work week and my gym week and stuff like that. But yeah, your week was rough.
You had a good gym week.
I did have a good gym week.
It was a very good gym week.
We'll talk about that when
the time comes.
When the time comes. You got show before the show stuff?
I'm just fucking beat up.
I feel it.
Yeah, I'm all the way beat up.
Both did yard work today, and it's like 90 something. Actually, it was 85, but it was muggy as shit.
Still took me and two other dudes to like 2 or 3 hours to dig up that spot in the yard. Tiller, man, just run a tiller, y'all. Run a tiller.
My dad needed help digging post holes for his fence, and we tried. I can't remember what it may have been. A tiller. It's basically looks like a big drill.
Oh, that's not a tiller. I don't remember what that's called, but
we were using one of those. And it just...
An auger?
Yeah, it's an auger. And it fucked us up. Like, we were even, like, just trying to hold it still and stuff. When it catches on a rock, it just yanks your arm out of your socket. And I was like...
Have you ever ran a jackhammer?
Uh-uh. I can imagine it's similar.
Yeah, 100 pounds and it just goes wherever the fuck it wants to. You think you're strong until you run a jackhammer. And then, you're like...
Nah, actually.
Hats off to the blue-collar guys.
Right.
Yep, big time. Apparently, oh man. Austin's claim to fame at his new job doing line work has been able to tote the 70-pound lasher with one hand and work it. So some of those blue collar guys are tough, dude. I'm not so sure that's not Austin and Mason's hack.
Oh yeah,
they're on their feet a lot. I got my ass busted by that yard work today.
Yeah. I'm on my feet a lot, but I don't have to do like a whole lot of physical stuff. Nothing I deal with is very heavy. Now, I did have one situation where somebody put a whole fucking mini fridge in what we call amnesty bins. It's basically like if shit gets displaced, they put it there for us to put up. So I had to go, I think it was like 6 levels up. So I was probably like 30, 40 feet in the air with a mini fridge, trying to fit it into a rack on top of another pallet. Is fucking
annoying.
It was sketchy. It wasn't like incredibly heavy, but it was awkward. And trying to fit it in the space that it was supposed to go into, I was like, if I die, man, they're not even gonna like, because they're gonna be like, you dumbass, you shouldn't have been doing that.
Right. No mercy, and that machine will continue to run without you. Like, no. That's kind of a shame, isn't it?
It won't even fucking matter.
Like in Target and Walmart.
Yeah.
Die on the job, they replace you right in the end, probably.
About 2 weeks. Hiring process takes about a total of 4 weeks.
I'm saying they'll find somebody else to put that fridge in that hole.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. That would get done. Well,
above your rotting corpse on the ground below.
Unless the fridge is either damaged or the box itself has like blood splatter on it, and then they can't sell it. So they'll send it to like Five Below or wherever the fuck, damage it out. Like, yeah, we can't sell it. So we got to salvage.
Is Five Below a subsidiary of Target?
Not really. We just sell stuff that we can't sell to Five Below. Okay. That's kind of like Five Below and those sorts of stores.
Is connected to Whole Foods somehow. They get surplus from most places.
It's a similar concept, but they actually
the dates always suck at Aldi.
Yeah, they always just buy shit that either is overstock or can't be used or can't be sold. That's why sometimes you get some like dingy packaging or like open stuff like that.
Makes sense. Well, show before the show, we're drinking a Basil Hayden's Old Fashioned.
Yep.
Nothing to tell if you don't know how to make an old fashioned by now.
Google it.
Years of listening to this show.
It's almost
what it is. I have a topic, by the way, and I didn't write it down because it wasn't worthy of necessarily writing down, because I think we'll have differing opinions on some things. But knowing when to quit.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like I've ran into that this week. So.
Okay. That's pretty
not permanently, but like,
right.
When to change direction. So
take a step back, that sort of thing. Yeah, I get that. You want to go into the gym this week? Since that's kind of a good...
Yeah, that's the show before the show. So, welcome back. I'm Zach. He's Nathan. You can follow us at Coleman_Barbell, at Nathan Skedios, at Sip It and Rip It. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Watch us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, comment, leave us 5 stars, send us DMs, share the show.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be a hoe. Share the show, as Andy Frisella says on as he says on the Real AF podcast. Yeah. But yeah, that's it. So tell us about your gym week.
Gym week was good. Started Monday with Monday was a really weird day because I had my consult for my blood work, which leaded to, hey, we need to draw like another vial. And I was like, okay. And then they looked at my blood and they were like, man, you just bloodlet like 2 weeks ago? And I was like, yeah. I was like, you're higher in your blood hemocrit and red blood cell count than you were last time you were here 2 weeks ago before you had the bloodlet. And I was like, okay, that's probably bad. I also was up on my testosterone, obviously, so that could have contributed, but also just the fact that it happened so fast, they were very concerned about the speed of which, even because I'd only taken 1 extra shot more than I normally do. So they were just kind of like, yeah, that's a little too fast. So you need to go to a blood doctor before we refill your testosterone script. I'm like, fuck, okay. So now I got to do that. I also got my oil change in Decatur because I was going to Huntsville anyway. I was like, well, we were right there. It was a whole long ass day and I felt like shit. I came home. I took a nap for like an hour and then I woke up, kind of moved around a little bit, was debating on going to the gym the whole time. I was like, I might not even go today. I don't know. It's been such a day. And then I decided, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just go. It was like 10 or 11 o'clock. It was way later than I normally go to the gym. It was like jam some nectar. I may have taken a caffeine drink, whatever the fuck energy drink. Yeah. I may have taken one of those. I don't even remember. I just drove down there, got there, and I was like, whatever. We're just going to see what happens. I'm supposed to pull 635 for 3. And I'm like, getting moving around. It's like everything kind of feels like shit, but that's how it normally goes before a big deadlift. Loaded up 635, took a hit of ammonia, was like, fuck, let's go. And I pulled it. I got 635 for 3, which was the plan. So that was cool. It was a big PR. I think I've only ever hit 635 for singles ever. So
I don't remember ever having seen 2 or 3 that way.
I don't think I've ever hit anything more than a single on it. And I think that's like my second attempt last year. Right. Was 635 and I tripled it. So like it's
officially we can say that's at least an opener.
Yeah. Yeah. At least. I still think we'll probably lean a little heavier because we also, like I said, I was up a little bit on my testosterone, but I'm still kind of like just cruising on TRT. So like we don't even know what's going to happen, 10 weeks. We're officially 12 weeks out tomorrow. 10 weeks out, like when I start up dosing again, who knows? But anyway, it was a good deadlift. Bench, I took iridescence for because I was like, this is going to be kind of a big deal.
It ended up being a very big deal in a good way.
Yeah, 405 for 4. It was good. If I had a spotter, I would have went for 5. But the 4th one, I could feel my triceps starting to go. And I was like, I'm not risking it when there's literally nobody around who could pick this off of me. So I'm just going to rack it here. Probably had 5, but just didn't want to take the risk. So
that's another PR. So at that point, why be stingy?
Yeah. I've only hit 405 for a double, I think. That was the best I had done so far.
And you had 436 on the platform.
Yep. So
we know we've progressed.
Bench is going to be big. We've been. It's really funny, and I've been telling people like 470, and they're like, no. And I'm just like, yeah. And this past 405 for 4, I think put me at like 450, 460.
Yeah,
something like that.
Projection should have been about 455.
I think that's right.
That being said, it was like an RP 8.5.
Yeah.
So it stands to reason 470 could happen because another rep or 2 would have probably skewed that toward 470.
Yeah. So there was definitely more in the tank. I just didn't feel like risking anything, especially when I was already over the projection of what we had.
Yeah.
So,
Makes sense.
And then did my pump day. Didn't do anything crazy. Just kind of went in there, got a good pump and left.
How was overhead press?
Not great.
Enough.
It was stimulus.
Yep.
I'm not. What's the best word? I'm not pushing hard for my overhead press because I don't need to. I just need the stimulus.
Sure.
So I would rather just like get quality reps, make sure my shoulders get worked. I'm not trying to progress it in any specific way. Whatever I get is what I get for that day.
And it is more strenuous than what we were doing, which was machine press.
Yeah.
So, yep.
And it's felt better than machine press has. So that's the only reason why I've kept doing it over the machine press.
But as much as you were doing the machine press too, it's just simply less work to get it on and off the bar.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
Squats, we have differing feelings about.
Yeah, I was really enthusiastic about squats. He just didn't feel well though, so I understand.
Well,
CNS hasn't adapted to high bar.
I had to take a drink before I talk about squats.
Yeah.
So 475 for 4. That's the theme here is a lot of 4s, except for my deadlift. I guess it was a 3, but it was high bar. Still feels a little weird. They moved well enough, but I was really like in my head. I was like, I'm hitting this for like 6, 7, 8. Like I'm gonna crush this. No issues with confidence in it, but my body just was not having it. Especially on the 3rd rep, I was so shaky and so uncomfortable. My CNS was just like not happy the whole time. And I was like, I don't know. I just felt like couldn't get any more out of it. The 4th one, I really felt like after the 3rd one, I was like, I could rack this right now. But I was like, I'm going to get more than 3. And I hit the 4th one and I was like, fuck, I just got to put it up. Right. So something we're going to have to kind of figure out is a way to manage the volume and still progress.
I'm not so sure we're not going to attempt some similar thing to what we discussed on the show last week on squats.
Doubles, triples.
I'm thinking, honestly, leaning like singles, pretty heavy, 3 sets of 1, and then a pretty dramatic drop set afterwards.
Yeah. That wouldn't be bad either. Just to like get adapted to heavy weight and still be able to like work with reps basically. Yeah,
I figure where your 1 rep max in is any singles above 480, which they'll accumulate and grow as we go. I think singles over 480 were probably pretty good quality work with little fatigue. Because I do feel like that was looking at it from the standpoint of volume and the transition to high bar too, it probably was pretty fatiguing.
Yeah.
So, but we have 10 weeks to progress.
We got 12
weeks to progress singles.
Yeah.
So if we can start at 480, we'll be in a good place by the time we, if we're taking our last singles of the block, between 435 and 455, 535 and 555, then we know we've probably grown our squat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my last squat with Joe, I took 2 heavy squats with Joe and it was 545 both times. I was just not happy with the depth on the first one and then took it again later on when he let me. So if we can at least, get around there, we'll know that I'm probably going to be good for at least somewhere between 560 and 570, which in all fair, even though I really would like to break a 600 squat, it's probably just not in the cards for nationals, and that's just being realistic.
I think if we have a conservative approach, we can PR, but maybe 600's a reach.
Yeah. It might be closer.
I don't think PR is a reach. I think 600 might be.
570, 580 is probably realistic.
I think it is.
All things considered, like I've been saying, don't know anything about how the uptick in drugs is really going to affect me until it happens, because I've only been on TRT since January. Yeah. So and we've made tons of progress with just TRT, insulin, and MK 677. So which I do want to real quick comment on that because I got my labs back. My growth hormone, since I've started taking it, I started out at 0.6. Which my doctor was like, you need a growth hormone prescription. And I was like, cool. And then he told me the price. And I was like, not cool. So we didn't go with it. But I started at 0.6. I think it was like 1.2 or 1.6 the next time I got blood work when I started taking it. And then this time it was like 2.2 or 2.6.
So marked difference.
Yeah. So steadily increasing. And I mean, there's been some other changes like dietary and a couple of supplements, but that's really the only thing that should be affecting my growth hormone. So it does work.
Yeah, it definitely reflects on my blood work too. I haven't been taking it. I need to while I still have access to it.
Right.
But
well, I mean, you can get it from Asylum. It's just that god awful.
We're probably not going to quit selling SARMs.
Okay.
Only because the markup's so good.
Right.
So it is what it is. So.
If you're going to keep selling that, you might as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's the markup's really good. I'm the cheapest in the state, and if you pay full price, it's roughly 4 times the price that I pay for it. So I rarely ever sell it at full price.
Yeah.
But, especially when people tend to buy multiple bottles of that kind of stuff. But yeah, if somebody comes in and buys one off bottle, it's, $85 after tax.
Right.
That's a lot more than I pay for it. And I'm still the cheapest in the state. So I'm not really price gouging. You know what I mean? Like,
cheapest might be even than online too, because as far as like dosing and the capsules, I've seen them go for as much as 100, 130.
Is that a 15 milligram cap or a 25? Do you remember?
The ones that you have?
Yeah.
I think it's a 35.
So it's a pretty damn good deal.
Yeah. And then most of them.
I do them to y'all for $1 a pill. So.
Maybe it's 25 because I think there's some that are like 12 and a half, and then there's some that are like
25 sounds right.
I think it's 25,
but it's still more. Do you take one a dot?
One a night.
I take one a night as well.
Yeah.
When I take it.
But yeah, good stuff. So that was my gym week. It was a successful week.
I just see the squats as being very progressible where they weren't with low bar.
Yeah,
and I think I'm just fired up because it's going and it's going. I mean, 475 for 4 is still one more than I projected you at, right? It was supposed to be 1 to 3 based on comfort. Yeah. So, I mean, I would say that we're ahead of the game.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not really ahead of where we expected to be with the transition and everything like that. We chose a really slow linear program on the squats because he was, we've talked about it, but he was hurting. I don't even think we're going to have to undulate them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I feel like you're recovered for the most part from squats.
We'll just have to kind of see when it gets heavy, I think. Sure. But also, like I said 1,000 times already, uptick in drugs, my recovery is going to be a lot better. So we might be able to linearly progress everything. I still would probably not
deadlift's going too well to fuck with it.
Yeah, I was going to say I wouldn't be super aggressive with deadlifts if we wanted to do linear. But, like, I don't know. I'm hitting so many good like triples and sets of 5. It's
really high quality deadlifts right now.
So it is what it is. Take a shot.
Yeah, I'm an alcohol. So
oh shit.
There's a sip for you.
I should have, but I didn't.
You should have. Yeah.
That'll be all right.
You left me hanging on that. My week in the gym was
I'll take one now.
Productive. The elbow injury has become too much to overcome on deadlift, so I am withdrawing from the mock meet and going back to a bodybuilding plan.
Yeah.
Also, likely starting the 75 hard on Monday. Because I'm honestly, I've been doing really good on diet anyway. Past 2 or 3 days, I really haven't, but mostly I'm kind of on my longest stretch ever, like dieting well. And I'm really, really tired of drinking.
Yeah.
Not that it's become a problem, but it is negatively affecting my hydration, my attitude, like a lot of things. So
I think if you're starting it on Monday, like I was already kind of thinking this might be my last drink going into nationals. So might be where we stand. Yeah. Might be where we stand for the next.
It'll still be sipping and ripping, but we'll just be sipping, Coke Zero instead of
a Monster.
Now when Dustin Reed comes up here, I don't know.
If who?
When Dustin comes up here, he's September 14th his date. So
okay. I don't know if I have that on the calendar. I don't know if you told me that, but I need to put that on.
Yeah, you need to get it on the calendar, and then we still got to book Kevin Killen and then Brianna Hastings. I haven't reached out to her yet, but anyway, we got guests coming up. When's Lance coming on?
I think it might be next week.
Cool. So I mean, we got pretty full book for guests and stuff, but anyway, my gym week. I did what I was supposed to on bench, which was fine. I think it was a single at 375 or 385. I don't really remember. It went.
I think it was 385.
Didn't go well, but it went. Tuesday I had squats. Got a pretty lowly 445 single, but again, it went.
Right.
It's what I needed. Wednesday was my shoulder back pump day. it was pretty abysmal.
Yeah.
A lot of upper body pain. I think I did all my dumbbell work with like 30s,
Right.
where I had been doing it with like 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Friday, it was a bench day, also pretty abysmal. Elbow pain wasn't worth fighting through, to be honest with you. And then today was supposed to be my down week on deadlifts, and I struggled to pull 405 because of pain. So that's what led me to, I don't want a bicep tear because it takes you out of too much.
Right.
And with me getting ready to hire Ron for 2025 and having bigger goals for next year, it just didn't seem fruitful for me to hurt myself over
a mock meet
that I wasn't going to win money in anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You weren't even going to be like technically like in it.
Yeah, I was going to hold mine separate to fulfill call outs that was done by my clients, but they understand.
Yeah.
So if it would have been somebody outside, something like that, it would have been different, but I'm just not going to hurt myself over that. So it is what it is. But I did get my second 500-pound squat of my lifetime today. Was pissed off about deadlifts. and it was kind of boneheaded and stupid, to be honest with you. Sorry, I got a lot of dust in my lungs because of working in the yard today. Yep. I was squatting with Mason and Logan and Liz, and little Brittany was in the rotation too. And we were in the monolift, so it was real easy to change heights and stuff like that, and less easy to change weight because like the boys are all, higher end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And we're squatting in order, right? Brittany obviously being the least amount of weight. Liz is next.
Yeah. Logan, Mason,
Logan, Mason, me. Yep. Or actually, Logan, me, Mason.
Okay.
Because Mason's a little stronger than me on squats. Got his ass today though. But he attempted something big. I'll get into that in a second. But I was going to quit at 2 plates. I was like, man, this feels like shit too. I don't want to do this. Squatting out of a monolift for the first time in a while. That always is a little alien to me, and it feels weird even when I walk them out.
Yeah.
So felt like shit warming up. They were like, Brittany needed a 10 on the inside, so I was like, fuck it, just put the 10 on the inside. We'll stack plates on top of it. It's fine. So just stay on there. So my second warm up was at 339 because that's a 49-pound bar. And then calling up the next numbers, Mason's, I was like, what do you want next? You want to put a quarter on it? Because I thought we were warming up, right? So we're going to jump up, make smaller jumps. He's like, fuck no, put a plate on it. So I take 429 and it was easy. And I was like, fuck, all right, this is easy. And everybody else does theirs. And then get back around to me and Mason and he's like, I'm just going to go up another plate. And I was like, so at this point, we've taken the 10 off and he's like, let's just do 5 plates even. So that's 499. And, that was going to be his last warm up because he's, like I said, he's significantly stronger than me on squats. And I was like, fuck it. Put 499 on there, which is the 5 plates. And I was like, just to get something over 500, put the 2.5s on.
Yeah.
It was easy. 504. And it was probably the easiest, quote unquote, maximal squat I've ever done. I will say it was a solid 9.
Right.
Wasn't super easy. But it was easier than I anticipated a 500-pound single to be on the SSB bar.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was really, really good. And then immediately he goes to 6 plates and he bombed it. I can't lie. He got stuck at the bottom.
Yeah.
And made too big of a jump because he literally went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Which is not
that's
the most intelligent way to warm up. And previously his best on the SSB bar is 499.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, you're really going to put 6 plates on here? I'm like, well. And then he ended up getting he got fucking crushed by 549 too. But I think if he hadn't been stingy and taken the 549, he would have got it.
Yeah.
But coming out off the 589 into the 549 is too much. But I was really happy with the 504. I feel like I made a lot of good progress this year and I'm in a confident place on squats, and it sucks real bad that my strongest lift and deadlift is
hindered.
Yeah, it's hindered. I did figure out what's causing my pain, and it's not the deadlift. It's machine hammer curls.
Okay.
Setting the way you have to sit up for those, even sitting like this, your elbows are very, very outside of your grip, where they wouldn't be in a regular curl. They'd be kind of out in front of you. And it's putting an immense amount of pressure on my forearms.
Yeah.
And that's basically radiated up into my biceps and stuff like that. So just gonna cut them out, and then on this next block, I'm doing starting everything at around about 50%. So deadlifts are gonna start at 315.
Right.
So like, and they're gonna be volume based. So there's like no fear of hurting myself. But if I would have stayed in it and pulled the 605 this coming week, I feel like I probably would have tore it. To be honest with you, because I mean it's bad enough pain that. I've locked the 405 out, but it was bad enough pain. It was, like 9 out of 10 pain.
Yeah.
And that's a bummer because that's a really light deadlift, so, it just wasn't worth getting hurt over. So that's kind of the reason I called it. But all in all, I did everything I was supposed to do in the gym. So, it is what it is. Ended it with a PR, ready for naked knees and no belt for a little while and sub 350 pound bench presses and, sub 500 pound deadlifts.
Cruising.
Yeah.
Just cruising.
I'm ready for some volume. I'm ready to not feel like I do currently. So
ready to just feel like a giant pump all throughout your body as opposed to just like pain.
Yep. But I've made a lot of good strides. Another good example is, I was like, fuck it. My last day of the block. I know I'm not doing anything else. Barbell stuff's out of the way. I'm just going to fucking wing the rest of the workout, do kind of what I want to do. Did lunges pain-free, which hasn't happened in 5 years.
Right.
So like there's a lot of, we've accomplished a lot this year between the couple of programs I ran with you and the couple of programs I ran with myself. We really moved things down the road. Quite a bit. So I almost feel like a power lifter again. So,
and it's funny. I think a lot of that has to do with taking a more conservative approach. I think it just kept you healthy and kept you able to move forward.
But I've been able to, all year, I've been able to put weight on the bar week after week after week after week after week with little to no pain up until this point.
Yeah.
So I would like to continue that. And that's the reason I am starting back at the beginning. So that just is what it is. Not quitting, but just starting over. Do you got PR songs?
Yeah. I have to pull them up, but I've got a few. Just have to pull them up. There's the program. I was listening to this in the gym. This band is kind of like if you know like the newer Doom soundtrack music by Mick Gordon. They're very similar to that, but it's No Bliss and Ignorance by Andromeda, and that's Andromeda with an I. I've put them on the podcast before. I can't remember which.
I have a record or two of theirs. It's all instrumental, or the record I have is. Yeah.
It's probably. I think one of them is called like Havoc or something. It's got like I think I put the Pathogen Downfall on there.
Is it the Orange album?
Yeah, the Orange album.
Yeah. I don't remember the actual album art.
Yeah, me either. I think there's a dude on it with a sword, maybe.
I don't remember.
Something like that. But it is orange. But they're really good. I like them a lot.
Female fronted band that actually kind of goes hard. I think it's just two vocalists and they just kind of doing their own music. But a song called Black Ops by the Pretty Wild.
Okay.
It's pretty fucking heavy. Like surprisingly for what it is. Yeah.
Right.
I'm actually going all girl fronted today. So
clean or
both.
Yeah.
That's a lot of cool. Real actual like metal vocals on it.
It's surprising sometimes how good female metal vocalists have gotten lately.
God, they have though.
We're far removed from like Arch Enemy. Arch Enemy was like, what's a good word for it? It kind of like paved the way, right? Like they were kind of like the first like.
Yeah, that was a little cheesier too. Like almost reminds me a little bit of like Cradle of Filth and I
kind of like some Cradle of Filth, but
what's the other band I'm trying to think of? Damn, I can't really think of it. I know it's one of those things that'll hit me later, but there were some other bands that were kind of like I mean, it's definitely metal and it's even like heavier, but it was almost like thrashier, a little black, a little Viking-esque, like all kind of happened at the same time.
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I get you.
Yeah, all that kind of shit. So Alexi Leho, what band did he play for?
Oh,
Remind me.
I don't know. I'm
thinking of his band. I remember the guitar player's name, but yeah, thinking about shit like that. I mean, that's Arch Enemy definitely reminds me of that quite a bit. But,
definitely. So my second is I know you'll appreciate this one because you're the one who introduced me to this band. But The Cathedral by Black Tongue.
Black Tongue is fucking
They're
awesome.
so good. Like every time
that is like stupid low tuning.
It
like,
just like crush you under massive weight. Like that's the sound that they make. It's just like
oppressive.
It's so good. But The Cathedral, I think I'm trying to remember it's like the line. I'm pretty sure this is the song. The line goes, "Your pathetic shells will crack under the weight of agony." It's just like, oh. When that part hits and they just like, it speeds up, it's just like, oh, that's so good.
Y'all are lucky I haven't put the entire Acacia Strain discography on the playlist.
It could be. It really could
it really
be.
fucking could
like
be.
99% of their music. Like there are a couple songs that I would say are not like PR songs, but a lot of them are just
it came up today when I was lifting heavy, and this is not my entry, but this is an honorable mention. We're going to talk about it real quick. There's a song on Coma Witch called Graveyard Shift.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fucking brutal. I fucking love that song. Lyrics are brutal, music's brutal, everything. It's about stabbing a bitch. It's fucking awesome though. But my actual entry, another female fronted band, they really don't get enough love, and this band doesn't get enough love because they're fucking awesome. They are bringing a little bit of new metal back in a sense, but they're a little heavier than that, to be honest with you. But it's Holy Roller by Spirit Box.
Okay.
Yep. She's an awesome vocalist. That's Courtney LaPlante formerly of I Wrestled a Bear Once.
Okay.
Yep.
I know that name, but I don't know that I've ever listened to them before.
You really should, because I think you'd like them. It's really fucking good music.
Cool.
Really good stuff.
I'll have to check them out.
But yeah, that's my other entry for PR songs.
Cool. So the topic of the day, knowing when to quit.
Knowing when to quit or when to pull back, because we're not condoning quitting fitness.
Right.
Or even quitting powerlifting. That's not really what we're talking about.
No,
but knowing when to
quit is more of a catch you line, though.
Yeah, is.
That's going to be the title. Knowing when to quit, because people are going to be like, "What do you mean quit? Well, you guys don't talk about quitting.
You don't fucking about quitting. Nobody's quitting here. Like, fucking, honest to God, I am the guy. I could fucking tear half of the muscles in my body, and I would find a way to train them.
Right.
Yeah. I've done it. I'll find a way. I'll find a way to train. So I'm not condoning quitting. Right. But maybe I am condoning a little bit of intelligence. Right. And working within means. So good example is exactly what I talked about in this week. And this is what inspired this conversation is this bicep strain, forearm strain, bicep strain. I don't know, because I had planned to get an image this week, and just the week I've had just didn't have time. Yeah. Super shit week, but this is an injury by all accounts I could absolutely fight through. Mm-hmm. And if I was in prep, I probably would. Right. If I was in a real prep, I probably would.
You were already signed up for a meet,
I would fight through this. But just a little bit of wisdom now from having been injured and having to restart so many times, because I've restarted my squat from the empty bar so many fucking times.
At least 2 that I know.
Yeah, I mean, and to the point that it's not even fucking, the idea of having to restart is not even intimidating to me anymore. Right. You know what I mean? Like, the idea of getting under progressively heavier weight can be intimidating sometimes. Mm-hmm. I feel like I did a lot of that for my confidence today. But just basically knowing when to pull back and when it's going to be worth it to push. Right. Versus when it's going to be worth it to be like it's time for something else. Yeah.
And, it's funny that we talk about this because, we've been talking about this, searching for answers for my low back for so long. And we already kind of knew SSB squat feels good. High bar squat doesn't feel bad. We could just do this. And we kept on just kind of like pushing off. And then it's like,
it makes you wish we would have started this in
100%.
Yeah.
A little bit sooner when we kind of had all this information already at our disposal, but we kept on like thinking there's got to be a way to make this work. Sometimes there just isn't. Sometimes you just can't make this work and you have to take an alternative. We were at the point where it's like, we have 2 choices. We can either high bar squat and like start a little further away from what I would like, or we can keep trying to find a solution, which has not been fruitful for over a year.
And basically it'd be patchwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and I even tried the patchwork, tried the TB and BPC, like Sarah Sobak said. I tried adjustments, like Richard said. There were so many things that we tried.
It's not that any of those things were wrong, by
It's
the way,
not.
either.
It just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And like nothing could relieve this lower back pain. And we finally decided to stop. It's like, oh man, I can squat again now. And it's like, you know, we should have pulled back sooner, but just being able to look at it from this perspective and being like, we did pull back because we had to.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well,
and now, you know, you had a productive squat week and
Yep.
it looks like it's progressible.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it absolutely does. And, you know, we're not super maximal loads yet. I think we're probably about 85%. Is that where we're at, probably, percentage-wise?
562, and I did 475.
Yeah, so let me just figure that out real quick.
It's probably, I mean, you're talking 80 pounds. Well, 90 pounds.
Yeah, so we're right at, it's 84.5%.
Yeah.
So we're, you know, 85%. So we know we're in the range where we're making progress if we're, you know, to keep in mind what I said, and I really do believe this about what we said several times about Shako.
Yep.
If you're accumulating singles above 80% and their quality, we're probably making progress, right?
Yep.
Like, that's the same idea here. Like, he's really, if you look at it in terms of math, he's really not far off.
Yeah.
And he's 10 weeks out.
Mm-hmm.
At 85%, 12 weeks out. At by the time you deload and by the time you take a week off for the meet, we have 10 weeks of training, to be fair. But have 10 real weeks of training left, and we're already at 85%.
Yeah.
Like, if we progress 2.5% a week, we theoretically would squat PRs in our sessions coming up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily the plan. You know, we want a PR on the platform.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, so mathematically we're actually, we had this conversation and had some back and forth about it, but mathematically you're like probably ahead of where you were last year.
Yeah. Potentially.
Well, honestly, you know what I mean? Like, in terms of math, it looks like we're at least, you know, comparable.
Right.
You know, so it's hard to be mad about that.
Yeah.
But again, to the point in the topic of this conversation, if me and Nathan had made the decision, fuck it, we're high bar squatting. We had this information in April, or probably before, but we know we had it in April.
Right.
We should have been, and we know this now. You want to get things fixed, so it's not about ignoring the problem, but we should have just fucking progressed it.
Right.
You know, and that's something as me as a coach now, I know, like, fuck it, this works.
This is what we should do.
This is what we're going to fucking send. You know what I mean?
In some fairness, you did say that. You said if we can just do high bar, we should just do high bar. And I did also like agree. I was like, you know, maybe we should. But I just kept on coming back to, but I'm so much stronger on low bar. I'm so much stronger. And you know what? It doesn't matter how strong I am on low bar if I can't low bar squat.
And if you can't progress it.
Right.
If you can't progress it, that means that eventually you won't be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, eventually, you know, that
it's just
the high bar will surpass.
Yeah.
So, and listen, some of the best powerlifters in the world are high bar squatters.
Oh, yeah. Jesus Oliveras.
I remember Ray Williams' t-shirt that he had printed that said high bar and conventional. That's like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Hell
Like,
yeah.
John Hack,
Yep.
albeit a very good squatter,
Mm.
not taking anything away from the squat. But if he had to axe one,
Yeah.
if we're playing start bench cut on the big three, he's probably cutting a squat, right?
Yeah.
Right. But high bar squatter, and you know, also a 200-pound lifter that has a 700+ pound high bar squat.
Yeah.
Like, high bar's competitive.
Yeah. There's
It's
nothing
not
wrong
the
with
best
it.
for the majority of us. I just moved another lifter to high bar because he just didn't have the fucking anatomy for low bar.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden he's Logan, who lifted with me today, is fucking thriving in low bar,
Yep.
like high bar. Well, Mason was the opposite. Mason just squatted in competition, his first competition ever, 434 high bar in competition. Moved him to low bar after the competition. And I told y'all he just attempted 589 on SSB. He has squatted, just squatted 485 for a set of 3 low bar. And this is coming off of his best that he barely locked out in April of 434.
Yep.
Some people just, you're going to be better one way or the other.
Yeah.
Like, we talk about this with sumo and conventional and stuff too. Sumo is incredibly, I think people who are better at sumo are better at sumo, and I think that's true. But I think that you're lying to yourself if your coach, you and your coach haven't done some serious soul searching in terms of anatomy and what is best for you, because I don't believe the best that we're all, I don't think the majority of people are best sumo.
Right.
I think the majority of people are going to be best conventional. I think it's popular to squat low bar and pull conventional. And it's not, but it's not necessarily the answer for all of us. But to the original topic, if me and Nathan had made the swap sooner, it might have been 505 on the bar this week instead of 475. And yeah, you're thinking it's 30 pounds.
That's a big deal.
It's fucking 30, but it's 30 pounds. If we would have made this decision in April, 505 would have been a rep PR on squat. Yeah. So, and I'm not taking anything away from what Nathan did, but like,
just what could have been, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about what could have been. And that was a good indicator. We had all the signs to point to it's time to quit. Mm-hmm. And we have now, but we didn't until quite a bit later. Yeah. And with me and this, it's like, listen, it's a fucking mock meet. Mm-hmm. Like, it's time to quit. It's time to just make the decision to make a business decision and not get hurt. I have goals. I don't have big goals. I don't expect to be I don't even expect to be a state record holder. Definitely don't expect to be a national record holder, but I want to compete at nationals next year. Mm-hmm. If I fucking tear my bicep for a meet that doesn't matter and I have to have surgery, 2025 is likely, then I have to start talking about 2026. Yep. I don't want to fucking talk about 2026. I'm fucking getting old. Yeah. 2025 is going to be my first, I'm technically a submaster now, but it'll be my first time to actively compete submaster and open. Mm-hmm. I want to do good in both. I don't want to be a old man lifter that just competes in
the old man
category. As long as I'm competitive, I want to compete open. Yeah. Like, I don't have to win, but as long as I can, I want to compete open. Like, I can't do that if I tear a bicep training for a meet that doesn't matter. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just kind of where we stand. But I think what we need to talk about maybe are what are the indicators, what's the information that we need to gather as lifters to make the decision it's time to change.
Right. So I guess the big thing for me, it also depends on before we start, let's go ahead and say this is the context of it's time to pull back from powerlifting. That's what we're going to say.
Yeah, not from lifting in general.
Just like from lifting heavy. We'll say that because not everybody.
Keep in mind, when we start this context, the episode we had 2 or 3 weeks ago when we talked about what an ideal powerlifting season should look like, and we went through all these things. We're talking about going from where we're at now to the beginning of that. Yeah. We're talking about off-season stuff, bodybuilding, stuff like that. And me and Nathan are big believers in if you're a powerlifter, you should be a bodybuilder the majority of the year. Yeah. Until you're in prep, you should be a bodybuilder.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean,
the biggest
we're the focus on the SBD.
Right. I was going to say the biggest caveat being you still want to practice your sport. Some bodybuilders don't SBD. Some of them do some of it or act some of it or whatever. Yeah. But in the context of
rep ranges, volume, intensity, all those things, like
closer to a bodybuilder than not. We'll just say it like that. But my biggest thing, if you're in a situation where there's 2 really big ones for me. The first one is pretty obvious. We've been talking about this whole time is pain. If you're hurting, you don't have anything important coming up.
Beyond the prep pain.
The prep pain. Because you're going to hurt during prep. You're going to have aches and pains and normal stuff like that. Your joints are going to be a little achy. Your muscles are going to be a little achy. Your CNS is going to be a little fried. Hopefully you're programming responsibly. Your CNS is going to recover from deloads or whatever kind of plan that you have. As long as you're being smart and you just have the normal aches and pains, that's fine. If you have injury or some sort of extreme pain or something like that, it's time to examine what's going on, look at your options. And if all of your options are bad options, then it's time to reconsider moving forward with a strength block or a competition or whatever. A lot of us, and I've talked, before about Sarah Sobak, just like we already signed up, we have to do this kind of mentality, which is fine. And you can do that, but you have to be incredibly smart. You're kind of just like in this between a rock and a hard place because you can like painkillers, peptides, everything under the sun to try and like survive it. If it's that important to you, then that's what you got to do. If it's not that important to you,
my situation,
you can just be like, you know what? It's not worth it. I'm going to cut back. I'm going to drop out of this meet, whatever it may be. The second one is like, are you getting weaker? And this is kind of like an interesting one, right? Like, are you physically getting weaker? Do you have some sort of health problem, something like that is preventing you from moving forward?
Have you been in a calorie deficit too long?
Right. Is there something that is causing you to just like not be able to continue performing at the pace that you should be, right? That's where I would be like, it may be like, maybe I need to pull back. Maybe there's some things that I didn't do right this prep. With bodybuilding, you know, I hate comparing the two, but they do have this mentality of, you know, they start a prep phase, but they may not pick a show until they're going to be like, they're like 2 weeks out of a show. Like they're basing it all based off of where am I at? How do I look? And what kind of like, what's the word? Like, what's my composition like? What's my body fat percentage, et cetera, et cetera. There's words that I'm forgetting that they use, but like, where am I at? Am I ready to? Whereas us as powerlifters, a lot of times we pick a date and we're like, this is when we do it. That isn't to say you can't just run it up to the bell, but like then your whole plan has to be like this ebb and flow, and you have to be able to peak at a moment's notice, and it's really difficult to do that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's that could be expanded on quite a bit, to be completely honest with you. And I don't know. I mean, maybe we should. I think that if you have an opportunity to break state records, if you have opportunity to break national records, for the few of us that are able to break international records, worldwide records, that decision should be easy to make because we are powerlifters. You should say there's within reason. There's X amount of pain I'm willing to train through. There's X amount of injury I'm willing to train through. Again, that has to be smart. That has to ebb and flow with your program and stuff like that. But I think really you should, especially if you're new, be honest with yourself and assess it. If you haven't competed yet, or if you're relatively new to competing and you're doing something local and you don't have an opportunity to do those things, you don't have some big rival or anything right now, just realize that powerlifting was here before us. It'll be here after we're gone. Like your need to withdraw from one competition or to just say no and not register it to begin with is not going to keep you from powerlifting in the future.
Yep.
The best thing that we can do for ourselves as lifters isn't even go in and squat our best every time we have to squat or bench press our best or deadlift our best. The best thing we can do as lifters is consistency.
Yep.
When you are injured, the thing that is most damaged from an injury other than your body is consistency.
Yep.
And when you lose consistency, I mean,
you lose the ability to progress.
You lose the ability to progress. You have to start over. Sometimes it may be weeks before you can restart, depending on how bad the injury is. So you're really playing, you have to weigh risk versus reward.
Yeah.
Right. And I would just say if you're not, if you don't have an active rival, if you don't have an opportunity to break state records or national records, maybe it's just smarter to not play that game and restart from that first off-season phase and go. You know what I mean? Take a break for a week or two before you do those things. I have about a 10-day break coming, and I'll be honest with you, I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Not because I want to quit, but because I haven't taken a break all year. I just need to be out of the gym for 10 days. You know what I mean? Like
that's another thing that's pretty telling is, are you unhappy in the gym? Are you like going in there and you're like, fuck this place? Like if your mentality about the gym is negative, it's probably time to pull back. Like it's a different thing when you're like, I'm in the middle of prep, I'm almost there. Like you're making the last push. These are different scenarios, right?
Everybody's tired at that point.
Everybody gets tired. Everybody feels like shit. They don't want to be there. But like, if you're
10 weeks out and you feel like fuck,
right? If you're just up in your dose, maybe even, and you're just like, man, fuck this place, or you're in a bad headspace because of life. Those are reasons to pull back. Fortunately, Lance didn't have to
pull out.
But he still competed, but he did go through like some serious shit, and it made him have to withdraw from working out for a while. Yeah. And he can talk about that next week if he wants to. But like, there are things out of our hands too that, family members passing away, like especially if it's someone really close to you, a parent, especially if it's really close to the time, man, I don't know. It might be incredibly difficult to make that, and some people may have the mentality of, I'm going to do it for them. And that's great. And you should, if that's how you feel. But if you don't, if you are just like devastated by it, maybe you just don't go. Maybe you just say, you know what, I need to mentally heal, because I can't put any mental energy into the gym right now because I don't have any mental energy.
Sure.
I'm just completely drained. There's a lot of reasons why you would consider pulling back.
I'll say technically this is the fourth reason we've given so far. And this may be surprising to people, and this may be even overly conservative for some people. But I like the way my chiropractor explained pain. And you can have X amount of things going wrong in your body and it not present as pain until a certain threshold is met.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden you have pain.
Right.
There's a very fine line between a lot of things are going poorly, but I don't feel bad yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then now all of a sudden things feel bad.
Right.
Like it can be a very rapid and acute change.
Right.
From one thing to the other. He was talking about that specifically with like my hips being uneven. Like I wear a lift now and it's kept me away from a lot of QL injuries. I think Nathan probably remembers there was a time where I would strain a QL 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
And it would take me out of heavy squats or deadlifts for 7 to 10 days. Mm-hmm. They're not bad strains. They are really painful, but they're typically not like devastating injuries. But they're bad enough that you can't fucking squat to depth and you can't fucking pull from the floor.
Right.
So, started wearing a lift like that. And the thing was I kept towing the line up to this point, and then one bad thing would happen. With a QL injury, it's bad to happen on a walkout on a squat. A bad thing would happen, and then I'm out of the gym for 10 days, and then, I have to restart. So I'll say this is the fourth thing. Are your lifts generally uncomfortable?
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're not presenting as pain yet, is it just feel like shit to get under a bar, especially if it's stuff that you can just like smoke,
dominate. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that may be your body being like
something's about to give.
Something's about to happen. And I know this sounds super conservative and almost probably a little fucking weak, but like if I had listened about those things about like my hips and stuff like that going into these injuries that I had, they could have been avoided.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this stuff. Going into the injury with Ron, when I was with him prepping for Maverick, I was having a very tough time squatting volume. I had a very easy time squatting singles, stuff like that. I had a very hard time squatting volume. And even with my time with you, I had a very hard time squatting volume.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden I squat volume fine, but it came from, I was over tightening things.
Mm-hmm.
The lift was just uncomfortable. And then what essentially happened on meet day was I stepped over that line from uncomfortable.
Yep.
But now this is pain presenting, basically. Whereas if I'd paid attention to that discomfort and fixed it like we have now, like shit, I can squat sets of 10 now 100 pounds heavier than I could at my strongest.
Right.
Because I have corrected my squat. Mm-hmm. But like because I didn't pull back and adjust those technical cues that I was actually over cueing, it fucked me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so I would say, is there discomfort presenting and not even necessarily pain?
Right.
That might be a good time, especially if you're a long way out. Mm-hmm. That's a very good time to reassess and say, something's the matter. It shouldn't be this uncomfortable, and restart and progress again. Yeah. Like, we're not talking about restarting with empty barbell, but if you're, on into prep and you're, squatting sets of 5 to 8 and every fucking rep feels like a battle, maybe it shouldn't feel that way.
Right.
A set of 5 to 8, like last couple of reps should be difficult, but
it shouldn't be.
First 3 should be a fucking cakewalk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not every rep should have to be, a fucking battle. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That is a super, super conservative approach, but if you're a long way out and you have a lot of discomfort presenting, then it may be time to reassess things. Yeah, for sure. Deadlift was like that with me this time. This bicep thing, we've talked about it for several weeks on the show. Probably shouldn't have pulled the 585. Probably shouldn't have, honestly. But I've just fucking ignored it until now. I can't ignore it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if I'd have just said, this sucks, need a different plan. If I'd even taken, a week, 2 weeks, double overhanded, whatever it may be, may could have avoided that, So I would say if discomfort presents, pain will probably follow.
Right.
So just know that.
Just paying attention to your body and listening to it and being like, in some, like for newer people, it's kind of hard to distinguish the difference between what is normal and what is
pump. And even the most common thing is my lower back hurts.
Yeah.
Well, you have muscles there.
Yeah.
You're a power lifter now. We use those lower back muscles every time we squat, every time we deadlift. Yep. And believe it or not, if you're setting up well on bench press, you're using them when you bench press.
Yep.
And then in accessory work, every time we do an RDL, every time we do a row, we're using them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're using the shit out of that, right? Like, don't worry about it. You just got a lower back pump. Now, if it was in a case like you are, where it was like fucking crippling.
Yeah, it's like every time I moved, like
your lower back being tired in a deadlift or a squat is not a problem.
Right.
Unless it's something like Nathan was, where it was fucking debilitating.
Yeah, it's a different thing. Like, and I can tell you, like, after I hit my 635 or 615 for 5 on deadlifts that week prior, I felt it in my lower back, but it wasn't like, oh fuck, I feel it. It was like, oh yeah, I used that. Like I can tell I used it. Yeah. And I was like, well, it's gonna affect my. I think I was supposed to do belt squats. And I was like, it really makes my belt squats feel uncomfortable. Or maybe it was hack squat at the, I don't remember. Yeah. But it made it feel uncomfortable. But it wasn't just like, holy shit, like I can't move. Some of my squats would get to a point where I was laying on the floor because I just hurt so bad. And that was the only thing to get the pain off, was just to lay in the floor. Yeah. And when you see a dude like go squat, I don't know, 400 plus for reps, and they're in the floor, like with their hand over their eyes, just like trying not to scream, it's probably something's wrong.
Yeah,
as opposed to,
we're not talking about a lower back pump at that point. We're talking about something,
something worse.
Serious. And with you, based on what Sarah told you and maybe what the information Richard and Avery gave you, it probably is worse. Mm-hmm. We're getting to avoid that, via high bar right now. But maybe something should be addressed, eventually anyway. But a lot of new lifters, like, there's discomfort in my lower back.
Like, yeah, that happens.
Great, y'all lower back pump. Like, you don't want to be just like super dismissive of it, because back injuries are serious. But like, your lower back's gonna get tired, folks. Yeah. I mean, it's powerlifting. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, if there's like just agging discomfort and not even pain yet, just know that you're only ever a miscue away from that becoming pain, or real injury, So, so I know that fourth one's probably a conservative reason, but it is absolutely a reason.
It's definitely something to at least alarm you, like not necessarily scare you, but just be like, okay, I need to be aware of this, and I need to be considering, like, is it just today? Does it feel like this the next time I lift? The next time I do the specific lift? Like, just paying attention to it, I think is the key thing. And then listening to your body and just being aware, like, this could be something real. It could just be, tired, annoyed, whatever. Yeah. It could also be much worse. So
I'll be honest with you, in terms of injury prevention, one of the best things I've ever done is keep up with my water intake. Yeah. You're much, much more injury prone dehydrated, and you're up to 15% weaker dehydrated. So just take that if you have a 100-pound overhead press, I know we're all stronger than this, but the math's easy. If you have a 100-pound overhead press and you come in dehydrated, that means the best you can do for one that day might only be 85 pounds. Yep. That's a fucking hit, dude. Yep. And then when you talk about us dealing with 500, 600, 700 pounds, like, you and Austin do, 15% is enormous. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a 10% jump for y'all right now is 70 pounds. Yep. So you're talking about 105-pound difference between what you could potentially pull versus what you pull dehydrated. Mm-hmm. And that's up to, I realize that, you know what I mean? But you're also, when you're that dehydrated, you are putting yourself in harm's way in terms of muscle strains and stuff like that. Blood flow's worse. Yep. So you're, if you're taking a bunch of pre and if you're on PEDs, you're heightening your chance of stroke or heart attack. Yep. Like, all these things are very, very real, especially if you're using PEDs. And like, the best thing I've ever done for injury prevention has probably been
paying attention to your water.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on top of that, electrolytes. Yep. You can flush. Too much water could be a bad thing if you're not intaking enough salt too. Yep. So hydration can prevent this a lot. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest with you, another really good reason to step back is, and this is going to be my fifth reason, is my nutrition and hydration ideal
Right.
for what I'm doing currently. If you're not taking those things seriously, if you're trying to be a serious lifter and you're still out partying, you're drinking a lot, that dehydrates you. That's a diuretic.
Yep.
I mean, pretty aggressive one. Even nutrition affects your ability to retain water. You know, if you're not eating enough carbs, you don't hold on to water as well. Not taking enough salt, you're not holding on to water as well. You know, and then even still with nutrition, you can talk about like greasy, fatty foods. Like you're more likely to bloat when you're in the gym. If you're eating bad carb sources and high fat diet, like you're probably not going to perform well because you don't feel well. You don't move athletically when you feel that kind of way.
Yeah.
I mean, those are all reasons to potentially say, I may be putting myself at harm's way. Maybe I should, especially if you want to be an elite lifter.
Yeah.
It has to, people may get annoyed with this. If you want to be an elite lifter, getting to the point where Nathan's at and Austin are now, they're both projected at 500 plus dot scores. They're both competing in nationals. And I wish that Austin took this a little bit more seriously, although he has a super physical job now where he has some leniency in terms of nutrition that me and you are not afforded. So I'm not going to pick on him too terribly much. But like really, if you're that type of person, if you're moving on from intermediate into now the advanced or elite level, it really needs to start with nutrition, hydration, and sleep.
Yeah.
So if you're at that point where you're about to make that transition from an intermediate to a more serious lifter, somebody that can go compete on the national stage or maybe even professionally, and those things aren't right, that's a good indicator to step back and fucking fix it.
Yeah.
Because everybody that you're going to go compete against does those things well.
Yeah.
So we talked about this a lot. Gone is the day of a fat powerlifter winning outside of obviously super heavyweight. Like,
Right.
So you're not doing yourself any favors by being the fat guy in your class. So that's a good indicator to consider what you're doing and maybe pull back too.
Yeah. I can agree with that. I will say though, there is one thing, and this is just because it's nagging. I was listening to a Mark Bell podcast, and he was talking to another coach. I think he was a Brazilian jiu-jitsu coach or something. They were talking about some of the best fighters in the world and their nutrition just being absolute dog shit. Sometimes your genetics can just beat bad nutrition. It won't beat it forever. That was their key thing, is that it didn't matter, like, because they were working out all the time, they were training all the time, so they needed the calories, but because they ate so shittily, eventually their bodies stopped processing it well. Like you can talk about all these great athletes. Look at who was it that was in such good shape? I think he was a basketball player. He was in such good shape when he played basketball, and as soon as he stopped, he just gained so much weight. Them, to be honest, Charles Barkley, I think. Yeah, he gained so much weight after he stopped playing basketball because he kept eating the same way. Yeah, just got super fat. It was like if he had been eating right the whole time,
could have extended his career.
Could have extended that's a huge thing. Longevity, like, and I know like people are probably sick of hearing about longevity. That is like the key to getting good at powerlifting. Like,
yeah, I mean, because of consistency is your biggest. The biggest component in being strong, other than probably genetics, is consistency. A lot of the reasons why Austin's ahead of us is because Austin's been training since he was 14. And I'm not taking anything away from the work that Austin does, because I know exactly how hard he works. But he's just got a training age on us. Yeah. Longevity has helped him. By and large, he's avoided major injury. He's had some nagging things and stuff like that. But even here on our own team, we don't even have to look outside our own team. And we can see, a difference between consistency. Look at me versus Austin. Like, I've been terribly inconsistent because of injury and stuff like that. And I have a younger training age, but I mean, you don't even have to look that far. I mean, people look at other sports. I fucking hated him the whole time he was playing. I still hate him. Tom Brady, played for a long fucking time in the NFL. And one thing
retired and then came back.
One thing that Tom Brady started doing halfway through his career is putting a really big, and now he's a fucking kook, like crazy about a nutcase in terms of nutrition and stuff, and does some things that maybe I don't even agree with. But he started taking his nutrition extremely seriously. And that, I have no doubt that extended his career. I think he would tell you, I think he said out loud, these things have extended my career. And that's dude, that's a sport where careers aren't long.
No. What, maybe like 8 years?
I think the league average is like 3.
3?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So, but now that's, top to bottom practice squad players, all the way up to starters. But yeah, extremely short.
I would probably like good players, probably about 8 years.
Probably.
That's probably because I feel like there's a lot of people that I remember.
But still not the majority though.
Right. No, for sure. Just like people who are actively performing well in the sport, which could be that they take nutrition seriously or not. But like,
I mean, look at, we've talked about this before, steroids in Major League Baseball.
Yep.
If you were offered these ridiculously huge contracts, hundreds of millions of dollars to play baseball, and your career needs to be extended to continue to be able to do that, it's no wonder that PEDs are an option, because like you're effectively making yourself more resilient, stronger, and less prone to injury. And then on top of that, because of that, you're extending your career and you have more chances to fulfill those giant contracts that you're going to be given.
Yep.
Like, it's not like, it's kind of a fucking no-brainer.
Yeah.
People can say what they want to about cheating. People that want to talk about that being a cheater's thing, and I realize that technically it is in baseball, but people that want to talk about that being a cheater thing has never been presented with $100 million contract and said, hey, I need you to do, I'm going to pay you this amount of money for the next 5 to 10 years. I need you to be good.
Yeah.
Well, if you want another one of those to come your way, you're going to have to figure some things out. And there's other ways to do it other than PEDs, but
but it's
we're talking about like why longevity is so important. It's because you get fucking paid for longevity. Powerlifting, we're not going to get paid monetarily, but you'll get paid in terms of total.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that come with, longevity.
And there's more and more cash money meets popping up every day. So like potentially it could pay you.
Good. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's mostly the pro meets that are the money meets. Ghost Clash Amateur Day does have a payout. That fucking sold out so fast, by the way. I don't know if anybody paid attention. It was about an hour, I think, and maybe 2 hours, sold out. And then they opened up some more spots. Something happened, I can't remember. Also sold out in like 15 minutes. So like, just for the record, if you guys want to go to the Ghost Clash Amateur Day, you got to be on top of that. You got to be paying attention.
That's a wonderful thing. But even here locally, I'm hosting it's unsanctioned, but I'm hosting a money meet. Like,
there's a WRPF one in December, I think, in Huntsville. Or no, it was Georgia. I'm sorry.
It's paying.
Yeah,
but that wasn't a cheap payday. I mean, it was the winners of my last unsanctioned meet was won over $600 a piece. We don't get that kind of returns for a $100 entry most of the time.
Nope. Most of the time, you just pay it. Yep. You might get a trophy. Like
it is a participation trophy. Yep. When you're weight class, you're only when you're weight class. Great, here's your gold medal. Sometimes you're lucky enough to win lifter of the day.
Yeah.
I say lucky. You were the strongest person there. I mean, there was no doubt about that. But nevertheless, though, I mean, consistency and longevity is what keeps us winning things. Yep. You know what I mean? So. I don't know. It's not to be frowned upon. And I think just this decision to say, the ability to say, I need to pull back or I need to stop what I'm doing for the sake of my longevity and my consistency is the best thing that we can do as powerlifters. It's a hard fucking decision to make. But shit, even look at Joe's. You can speak more, more about Joe's history than I have, but than I do. But like, this is a decision that Joe Sullivan has had to make.
Yeah.
Like
it's funny. I was pulling up his page because I feel like he posted something very recently about longevity and when to pull back and stuff. It may have just been just a meme he posted. I remember he posted something like talking with clients after their meet's done, and he was like, "All right," they're like, "I'm willing to do anything, to keep progressing." He's like, "All right. Let's put health at the forefront and let's pull back on drugs." And they're like, actually, I'm going to do my own thing for a little while.
Yeah, I actually saw that post. Yeah. It's like, you want to be better, but you don't want to be better.
Right.
I think TRT has been eye-opening for me in terms of dosing and stuff like that, because the more health-centric I've become, the strong, and I know I'm mediocre, so, but it is what it is. The more health-centric I've become, the better lifter I've become.
Yeah. Same.
Like, and then the added benefit of I'm not on a crazy dose, but the added benefit of I never have to come off because I'm on a manageable dose all the time is just like untold amount of strength has been gained and hypertrophy too. Like I've put on so much muscle just because I don't have to come off because I'm not doing an irresponsible amount of drugs for 10 or 12 weeks at a time and don't have to spend the 10 to 12 weeks off.
Right.
Like just doing this in a manageable way and putting my health in the forefront has been better.
Yep.
My squat progression and the fact that I never thought I'd see another squat PR. I really didn't. The fact that I was able to PR my squat today, like genuine actual, not a rep PR or nothing like that, but a genuine actual PR is fucking huge. And it's all been because I haven't been fucking stupid. Consistency and just a willing to say, this is too much today.
Yep.
Or, you know, whatever it may be, has been huge for me.
I'm wondering if I can find this video, because I swear it was something very, very recently.
I think it may have been in a story, to be honest with you.
It may have been, and that's why I can't find it. But yeah, like, and I was talking. I actually, Zach Rodriguez started following me on Instagram. I guess he just recently made one, and we had a little back and forth about it. And I was talking to him. I was like, you know, I'm in the same. Like, I believe a lot of what Joe talks about, and the biggest thing that I've seen is, you know, scaling back on like PEDs and stuff and just being on something that's manageable all the time. Made the best gains of my life, like in a relatively short amount of time.
It says something to just feel good.
Yeah. Just being able to wake up and be like, I can go to the gym and accomplish what I need to, and you're still progressing. Like that's huge. Like
I'm lucky that I've always, for the most part, other than a really bad stint with an anabolic coach, I've always been around powerlifting coaches that preached less is more.
Yeah.
So I always saw a value in, even when I did more extreme things, it was still less than a gram a week.
Yep.
You know, it never got really, really stupid. And even now when I do a PED dose, like I'm doing 400 milligrams a week right now. No oral, no tren, no DECA.
Yep.
Nothing like that. And I'm, you know, I feel fine. You know what I mean? I make really good gains off of 400, but my health is manageable at 400. Like I don't feel bad. Blood pressure for the most part's not bad. I have my days, maybe when I'm a little less hydrated, something like that. But like, I mean, it is what it is, but just a willingness to, Joe's right about the hell. I mean, I've had that conversation with clients before. Like, are you willing to, not always with PEDs, because I think, you know, at the level that we're at, they're still taboo.
Right.
They're not with me and you and Austin and, you know, my lifters that are progressing more rapidly, I would say, or that are more serious about it.
Right.
But you know, just when it comes to stuff like this, like, okay, well, this guy that you're going to be competing against, he, you know, eats the same 5 meals every day, supplements the same way every day, gets the same amount of sleep every day. Like, if you want to do this, I need you to do that too. Are you willing to do that? And then there's always some type of
like, well,
you know, I don't really have time to meal prep. I don't really have.
That's a lie.
Yeah, that is a lie. I mean,
we could do a video on how long it takes to meal
honest
prep.
to God, you can, you know, I have hacks for every fast food restaurant in town. I mean, if you don't want to meal prep, I have a way around it. Like, I promise. Because I've spent my entire life trying to find a way around it. But I mean, we can do it, and we can do it healthy. I mean, I think about somebody who's not competitive lifting anymore, but she's done powerlifting and Olympic weightlifting with me. Thinking about Nikki, who's always been really, really diligent about her diet and hardly ever gets to eat at home. Yeah. She eats so many meals out.
Because she's out all the time because of her job,
Because of her job. She stays on, she's flying from state to state or, you know, really busy with her daughter. She's on the road constantly and very rarely gets to eat a home cooked meal, maybe outside of dinner. She's done fine. Right. So that tells me that it's just a matter of want. Yeah. It's a matter of choosing grilled nuggets at Chick-fil-A instead of
fried nuggets or fried nuggets sandwich or like that.
But I mean, we're talking about something that's just so.
Choose the yogurt parfait instead of the French fries.
It's so stupid. It's so simple. It's stupid in a way. It's like, hey, the only thing I need you to do is just make a better decision when you get there. Yeah. You know what's awesome about eating a grilled chicken sandwich is you can have 2 of them for the caloric price of a single burger. Yeah. Like if you're worried about volume or being hungry, just order more. You know what I mean?
Like one of my things that I would always do when I went to Chick-fil-A is I just order like a chicken sandwich and then like a chicken fillet on the side, and I just have a double like chicken sandwich or whatever.
Double up on the protein, baby.
Yeah,
fair. I mean, it's
like super easy.
Mexican food's really easy to eat healthy at.
Oh yeah.
Stay out of the chips and dip. Order some fajitas. Don't use the shell.
Yep.
Hack made.
Chicken
need
and
to
rice.
be chicken. You know what I mean?
Chicken and rice is
Yep,
common.
solid.
Usually has a lot of cheese on it.
Every type of Asian food's really easy to healthy
Asian's
at.
super easy.
You need a ton of vegetables and a ton of great sauce. You get a little MSG, it ain't gonna kill you.
White
Ask
rice.
Dr. Lane. White rice. I mean, there's so many things you can do out still, and there's so few people are like
willing to do it.
So few are willing to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, including myself. I mean, I've made myself up about that. You know, when you have clients, though, you want to give them the best path to success. Yeah. Like, hey, the best thing for you to do is sleep better, eat better, drink better. Like,
sometimes it's pull back, pull back from what you're doing. Sometimes you have to make that kind of call and be like, listen, we can keep going this way and it may not work out very well.
Yeah.
If we pull back now.
Hell, there are even diet options. Like, and maybe there's times to pull back from dieting too. And I think that there probably are. I mean, RP talks about, I don't remember how many weeks, moving from a deficit into maintenance before you go back to a deficit.
12 to 16 bulk. I think they said 6 to 8 weeks cut and then about 4 to 6 weeks maintenance, I want to say.
So you're talking about, ebbing and flowing based on, and even still, like I have a lot of clients, including myself, that tracking stresses them out. That's great. Well, we can make, if tracking stresses you out, let's set some hard rules about what you can and can't eat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why I utilize, not ever with my lifters, so I utilize the paleo diet or the keto diet, but with my lifters, we can eat vertical diet.
Yep.
And you can pretty much eat your fill, and you don't really, I'd still like to log and track, but you really don't have to, at that point.
My thing,
there's ways around it.
There are psychotic people like me who can just say, I'm just going to eat the same thing every day. I'm going to figure it out one time, and this is my diet. Like I do that, like Monday through Friday, I eat the same thing. It's chicken and rice. Sometimes I'll do rice, sweet potatoes, or mashed potatoes with some sort of beef or something like that. Eggs in the morning. This lately I've been doing like this egg, cheese, sausage bake thing. And then some sort of carb and protein at night. It just depends. It fluctuates from like month to month what I'm feeling like, but I will eat this. I will just make whatever it is.
Some of us don't have that ability. That's fine. But we can still make better choices. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like there's the unwillingness to do this is just like, well, we've asked you to pull back and assess these things. Are you willing to pull back? And if the answer is no, then I can't help you.
Right.
At that point, you can't help yourself. Nobody can help you. You can't take the advice. And maybe that's another good indicator. If you're at a point in your life that you don't feel like you can take quality advice from somebody that knows better, I'm not blowing smoke up my own ass. Anybody, whether it be Nathan, Austin, a pro that another coach, whoever it may be, if you're unwilling to listen to them, then maybe you should assess how much it actually means. Right. And maybe assess pulling back too, because at that point, a coach is in it for, to help you, but they're also in it for monetary gains. At that point, you're wasting your money. You're wasting a coach's time. And maybe you should assess, maybe not quitting, but maybe you should assess a reassessment. Right. You know what I mean? And maybe pulling back. Is this worth paying for? Does it really mean that much to me if I'm unwilling to do these things? Right. Those are very, very valid points, to be honest. I mean, I don't know though. I mean, there's a lot of opinion that could be had on this. Well, this is a very opinion-based episode. Not dealing a whole lot in facts.
Well, I would, yeah, it's mostly opinions. There's some things that you can glean from it that would be beneficial, like just being able to think about like pulling back, because a lot of people don't even consider it. A lot of people are just like pedal on the gas all the way until we hit E, right? Yeah, and you're going to hit E faster by doing that.
And the stronger you get, the faster you hit E.
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically, you've built a race car and you only got so many passes on taking gas now. Like, we're not fucking driving Priuses anymore. You know, I mean, for real. I mean, we're not. I mean, you're a performance machine. You're trying to make yourself a performance machine, and your demands are going to get greater, and they're also going to be, your capacity for those demands are going to be shorter and shorter and shorter.
There's a reason why there's this saying floating around: you only have so many PRs in your lifetime.
Yeah,
it's because eventually, like, stuff gets hard.
Yeah.
How much are you willing to put in to keep getting the PRs? But also, like, your body can only take so much. Like, when you train a little more, when you pull back a little more often, you're going to feel a little better. You're still going to continue to get stronger. But if you're just like constantly, I got a PR today, and just like constantly beating yourself to death.
A lot of people do that in their early 20s. It's still not smart then.
No, it's never smart.
It's never smart. I mean,
you can get away with it a little more when you're weaker and when you're younger. These kind of things you recover from better, but as you get stronger, as you get older, you gotta. And
that older is not necessarily attached to your actual age; it's attached to training age. I mean, Austin, we figured out a long time ago, just cannot handle the volume that even you do.
Right.
I mean, y'all's pretty similar now, to be fair, but like he can't.
There's still a weight discrepancy.
Yeah, there is.
So that,
I mean,
that affects things.
When there's an absolute load discrepancy, a little less for you than there is for me, but Austin can't do the volume that I can do. That's not a shot at Austin. Austin's much stronger, much better athlete. But all these things necessitate you to deload more frequently than I do. And I'm older. Y'all are better lifters. The absolute load's heavier.
Right.
Like, again, like your ability to respond to these changes and your ability to adapt to them really kind of get shorter and shorter as y'all have gotten stronger and stronger, and that necessitates more frequent deloads. It necessitates different PED use. It necessitates different nutrition. It necessitates like so many fucking things. And the people that are willing to take the step back and assess those things and then run full speed toward all these other avenues of gains other than the gym itself are the people that differentiate themselves.
Yeah, you think about just like you have to plan differently as people get stronger, because like with our deadlifts, we've been undulating because it makes sense, because pulling back 1 week at a time just makes sense. We recover from it. You just can't hammer these heavy ass deadlifts all the time because your central nervous system is just going to get fucked. Yeah. So,
I mean, the fatigue's fucking high.
Yeah.
We're all, 600 pound plus pullers now. Like, you only have so many of those in your life. You really do. Like, you can't fucking do it week in, week out. It's not sustainable.
Yep.
Even if you can do it for a short time, it's not, it's not going to be fruitful long term. There's a reason like super aggressive programs like Smolov, Smolov Junior specifically, it's like 4 weeks. People run it on squat, they run it on bench press. Typically only run it on one lift at a time so they can bring that lift up. There's a reason it's only 3 or 4 weeks long.
Right.
Because it's not fucking sustainable. You know what I mean? Like, we've talked a lot about our experience with squats and milk.
I was about to say. It's only 6 weeks.
We don't do that anymore. You know why? Because when we did it before, we didn't squat over 500 pounds. When we did it before, we had 400 pound back squats. We could start at,
270, whatever it was.
Might even be 225, but you could start there and do a set of 20 every day for 6 weeks. Can't fucking do that now. You can't. That's based off of 5 rep max. You might as well call your 5 rep max, what is
475.
475. You basically just did it. 90 pounds off that is 385 pounds. You're going to tell me you're going to squat a set of 20?
Probably not today.
For 6 weeks at 385 plus pounds.
And progressively heavier.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
and every other day,
there's a reason these things aren't, shit. I mean, you can look at these, you can look at these like pocket, anybody can download programs that work for a beginner or an intermediate, and they run out of fruitfulness. Right? There's, there's just so many things that go into this, but I think just as athletes in general, we should be in a constant mindset of assessment and reassessment and stuff like that. Not so much that it's damaging and you're just constantly having to reset all the time, but you should be obviously looking at technique on a day-to-day basis, because that tells us potentially where you're weaker, where you're missing cues, where we could be more efficient in the lift, and all these other things. You don't want to make these, unless you're a long way out, you don't want to make these dramatic changes where you're just completely changed everything about your squat or completely changed everything about your deadlift or bench, whatever. But I mean, we were always in a state of assessment, but like really, if you want to be good and if you're not doing X amount of things correctly, you're kind of just pissing in the wind. Like,
a really good example of that specifically is my deadlift. When I started with Joe, I was like doing really well and I was progressing it really well. And I thought I was going to pull 700 at my meet. But he was like, hey, this is something that you can do to help your deadlift, like just be more powerful at the bottom. Right. And it's the slack pull just wasn't quite there. And then he taught me like how to slack pull better. I was very frustrated with the fact that my deadlift was not progressing after I started doing this. And I was like, man, I should be doing way more than this. This is stupid. And now
it's under your belt. It's
now
easy.
that I've made that change, we did kind of pull back technically my deadlift to create this, like, to really just to build better slack pull. All of a sudden we got past it, and now I've practiced it so much I can do it without really thinking, and my deadlift has just shot up.
Well, it's new stimulus too. So there's new muscle growth and new stimulus. It's a better, more efficient technique. There's a lot of reasons to have reassessed it and start over.
Yep.
I mean, plenty, and he knew that,
and we still PR'd on
absolutely.
a technicality, well, not on a technicality, but it was 11-pound PR. It wasn't a lot for a year's worth of training. Right. But
it's better than no PR.
Here's my thing. It wouldn't have even mattered if I had not hit 661. I mean, it would, like, more or less or whatever, if I had just met it. What we're doing now, like after all this has been over, we're talking about putting, like 80, 90 pounds on my deadlift at nationals. So yeah, maybe I only PR'd by 11 pounds last year,
but it's really giving you 100.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, long term, potentially 100. You know what I mean? And even there, another year from now, you'll be that much more refined. And I expect those gains to slow down, as you probably do. I mean, the jump from that next 100 pounds is always just mind-blowingly
It's always
difficult.
slower. It's always slower.
The jump from 700 to 800 is going to be stupid. I mean, it's going to be, It's
well,
going to be.
It might not be just, it might be 740 to 800, but that 60 pounds is going to be,
that's going to be, every time you do that, it's going to be the hardest next 100 pounds of your life.
Oh, yeah. It may not be 100. It may be the next 50. It may be the next 15.
On bench press, it might be the next 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I hope not. I hope I hit a 500-pound bench press in my lifetime.
I mean, I think that you will, but even if you only get 10 pounds for the next 5 years, you'll be, you'll be there. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But, we work all year on 5, 10, 15, 20 pound PRs sometimes as power lifters.
Yeah.
And that's really not small. But as Nathan pointed out, that reassessment, it only gave him 11 pounds in that meet shortly thereafter, but it's going to ultimately give him 100 plus pounds on his PR. So, I mean, and then the longevity, we don't know that you would have gotten hurt, but what if it saved you an injury having learned this new technique? What if it did this? And then, so now all of a sudden, it's maybe even giving you more than that. It may even have caused you to not have to reassess it again. And start over with a 400-pound deadlift.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so there's a whole lot of power in just being able to pull back and know that. And Joe knew that. Joe knew that you needed to do it. Like, good coaches know.
And he just as a little shout out to him, he addressed it in the best way possible, because he sent me a video and he said, what you're doing right now is good, but it can be better.
Yeah.
Right. And that's like the best way to approach someone who is at a level that I was at the time. I was intermediate, we'll say. I still think I'm pretty close to intermediate, getting closer to advanced, but still intermediate. And he was just kind of like, I'm not going to be like, you suck. And he's also not going to be like, hey man, you're doing great, keep at it. He knew that there was a way to get better, but he also knew that what I was doing wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't that I was just like a terrible, rounded over, horrible looking deadlift. It was just, this is fine, but if you want to be better, do it like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you do hire a coach to help you with these assessments and to help you figure these things out. But I mean, a lot of this comes down to personal, because the coach can't save you from what they don't know.
Yep.
So in terms of how you feel, if you're not being open and honest with your coach about how you're feeling pre, intra, and post workout, they can't save you from anything. You know what I mean? I mean, they can make technical adjustments based on the videos you send them and stuff like that. But in terms of the way you actually feel, they can't protect you from what they don't know. You can't expect them to be able to do that.
One thing, and I feel like this should probably be wrapping it up here, but I did want to say in that regard, like just in the communication aspect, how you feel going in, if you don't tell them how you feel going in, you're going to forget about it. If you don't tell them in the moment when something happens, your brain is going to say, oh, it wasn't that bad, or it was absolutely worse than it was. You have to be in the moment and present if something is going on.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to the gym, you don't have to like text your coach every time you go in the gym, be like, hey coach, feeling great today. You can, they're not going to be mad about it, but like, you don't have to say, you know, I feel good today. If something is wrong, something feels off and you know why, you can say, hey, this is what's going on. That's a little more crucial, right?
Yeah.
That way they know you don't have to have an explanation of if something went wrong. In the moment, like if a lift goes wrong, if you know something felt bad, be like, you got to tell them instantly. Be like, hey, this hurts here, or I did this and it feels bad, or something went wrong. Can you tell me why this went wrong? You need to be like in the moment, because if you forget or your brain kind of like dumbs it down basically, or over exaggerates it, depending on how you perceive things and how your brain comprehends things basically, and you know, because your brain compresses things as well, like your memories and stuff. So there's a lot of things that can go on in your brain that will make you look back at things differently than it happened in the moment and how you felt in the moment. So that is very important, just to be in the moment. Hey, this is what's going on. This is why. And then you like as it goes on, maybe you're like, well, it didn't feel that bad. But you look back at your text and you're like, well, it seems like it was pretty bad when I told him. Maybe it was that bad. So I just feel like it's really important just to be in the moment communication.
A little bit of life lesson here. Communication with your coach, communication with anybody in your life, communication will save any relationship. Yeah. I mean, and any relationship that's worth saving, communication can only make it better and improve it. So, I mean, we're talking about in the context of powerlifting, but very, very seriously, like,
with your dad, with your friends, with your
spouse,
significant other,
whoever it may be, communication really helps everything.
With your kid,
with yourself,
Yeah.
I mean, and that's
not really, in a crazy way of talking to yourself.
Yeah, but talking, but having some type of internal dialogue and some degree of honesty with yourself about how you're feeling, what you're capable of, those kind of things. That's really important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And 100%. Honestly, like some type of actual physical communication with your coach is kind of self-communication too, because now you have verbally or in the manner of text, you have got out what you needed to say and stuff like that. And that's going to be a conversation you remember, and it's going to be more fruitful for you too. I mean, just in the way you communicate with people affects your own ability to process the information that, you're needing to give or to be expanded on as a lifter.
Right.
So, I mean, communication with your coach, with your training partners. If you don't have a coach, a degree of honesty with yourself. All those things are, super important.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty much the show. You got dad jokes?
I can pull up some dad jokes. We will do that. Let's see. Didn't Tammy send us one on the page?
She might have. Why don't you bring that up?
I was gonna get you to do it.
Gonna get me to do it?
I was gonna get you to do it if you don't mind.
I'll do it. I got you.
I got it.
You got it or I got it?
You got it.
I got it. Okay.
So my wife and I have been trying to adopt a kid for a year, but the adoption agency says we have to keep the kid longer than 1 year.
I stayed up all night wondering where the sun had gone. Then it dawned on me.
I've made that joke before.
That was the one that Tammy sent.
That was the one that Tammy sent. I thought
she got another. We got another one from her.
Okay.
Don't throw false teeth at your vehicle. It might dent your car.
Dent your car. Dentures.
That's funny because it's talking about
Fake
false
teeth.
teeth and denting cars and fake teeth being dentures. That's why that's funny.
Knee slapper.
I used to have a friend that would like, it was actually hysterical to everybody that knew him,
Mm-hmm.
but just you could tell if it was somebody knew it infuriated him. But he would tell a joke and then immediately explain it.
Yeah.
And he did it on purpose.
Right.
Like 100% like did it like, it was always like, see, that's funny because it's like,
How did he handle like bad jokes? Like
the same goddamn way.
I don't want to put any words in anybody's mouth, but like
he was really funny. He's a
That's
funny dude.
what do you call a woman who's really good at darts?
I don't know.
Amy. Oh, man.
Wop wop.
How do you make 7 even?
I don't know.
You take away the S.
Yeah. Fuck you.
There's some Alfredo. I think we'll end on this one because it's a long one, longish. A man once said to God, "What's 1,000,000 years to you?" And God said, "It's a second." Then the man said to God, "What's $1,000,000 to you?" And God said, "A penny." So the man said to God, "Would you give me a penny?" God stopped and said, "Yes, I will. Just a second." Oh, man. Yep. We'll end it there.
Yep.
On a God joke. Unless you've got like some super like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Sacrilegious.
Yeah, sacrilegious joke that you want to spew out to.
I do, but I won't.
For the sake of the podcast.
For the sake of the podcast and its
All right.
popularity.
Quote unquote popular.
Unquote.
Hey, I
We
mean,
made it. We've made it to hundreds of listeners, haven't we?
we had a really good, I forgot, I posted the graph. I may still have a picture of it. I could probably actually just pull it up on RSS. We'll just give you guys a live update on what it looks like, which has probably dropped a little bit because we haven't posted since the last time we posted. So, because it goes based on a rolling month, it's probably a little lower than it was before. Well, last 30 days, we've got 374 listens. So not too bad. We're down 14%. I don't know what that means. It's like talking about our active listeners. It says we're down 14% for the month, but it says we have 18 active listeners. So we are actually up active listeners from in general, because we went from January to having like 1 to we're at like 18. So, progress is progress. But yeah, like almost 400. We're up 50% on our total listens. So we just got to get people to stay. That's all.
And Zach avoiding sacrilegious jokes could
potentially
help that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. It might get us some listeners. Maybe not the listeners we want, or maybe the listeners we want. Who knows?
We really don't.
People
don't know anything.
Really. Analytics are probably like my least knowledgeable aspect of social media, which is like the most important one.
Yeah.
So that's why I was talking to Zach Rodriguez, and he was talking about like, we were talking about like a gym, like nice gyms and stuff with all the good powerlifting equipment and stuff. And he was like, all you got to do is get the podcast really popular and like make a bunch of money and open one. And I was like, yeah, the only way that's going to happen is if we hire like a marketing team, because there's no way I could do that. I don't have the brain capacity or the time. I say I don't have the time. It just really depends on like how much time I'd really have to. But it right now it's just really hard.
It's getting better all the time, baby.
Yeah.
It is what it is, especially with businesses closing.
Yeah. I mean, shoot. Yeah. If you just like want to start working on the marketing aspect of it, go for it, man. All yours.
I think Facebook's helped. I've been
Facebook has helped.
Actively posting it and stuff. So that's good. Yeah, that's the show, guys. Follow us on Instagram at Coleman_barbell, at Nathan Skedios, at Sip It and Rip It. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Watch us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, leave comments. Give us 5 stars on Spotify. Send us DMs. Tell us you love us. Tell us you hate us.
Share the podcast.
Share the podcast. Don't be a hoe.
Don't be a hoe.
Share the show.
We're going to get sued by Andy for selling.
I think that as much credit as I've given the Real AF podcast, and as much of a fan as I am of Andy, if he were to listen to this and hear me quote him, I don't think that he would. I don't think that he's that kind of guy. To be honest with
probably
you.
not.
But I would hope not.
He would be like, how much money do you make off the podcast? $0? Like, never mind. I can't take anything from zero. Like, even if he wanted to take, like, that's a big thing with like YouTube is like, what's it called? Like, it's copyright infringement, and they basically take some of the revenue the ad revenue that you make. We don't make anything, so you can't take anything from nothing.
Yep, can't do that.
You can have the whole $0 that we just made.
Speaking of, you can donate. We have a PayPal link.
We do.
You can send us money for liquor, send us money for equipment.
Gear.
Yep. We may spend it on steroids. We probably need to spend it on a liver support. But we were just, I don't know if y'all heard the show before the show, but I'm probably starting 75 hard again, and Nathan is probably cutting out liquor for the rest of prep. So it's going to be we're going to be sipping Diet Coke and talking about ripping it for
Might
a
be
little
sipping
while.
coffee.
This
coffee
late?
Or
Not
Monster.
for me.
For me, yeah, not for you. For me, like I'll be up for another 6 hours ish. Depends on.
Yeah, I'm going to be asleep when I get home.
Yeah.
So
I would like
good
to
Lord
be
willing, I won't be asleep before I get home.
Then you take the forever nap.
Yep, the big sleep. That's the show, guys. Bye, y'all.